There are moments when the heavens fall silent, not because you are forgotten, but because something sacred is happening. The silence is not absence, it is awe. The unseen watches as you, the chosen, walk through fire and still refuse to curse the light. You think no one saw the tears you buried beneath your smile, the strength you gathered when you had nothing left, the times you stayed kind when the world turned cruel. But heaven did. You did not just survive today, you made eternity pause. There was a sound that rose from your endurance, a fragrance that reached the throne, not from victory, but from faith in the middle of your storm. You did not realize it, but when you kept believing despite the breaking, you brought joy to the heart of heaven. Every time you forgave when you had the right to fight back, every time you trusted when all logic screamed to give up, you turned pain into praise. The world may not write your name in its headlines, but the scrolls of eternity have recorded your resilience. The chosen are not celebrated by crowds. They are marked by endurance, sealed by faith, and crowned in silence. Today, you made the divine smile, not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful. Not because you won, but because you didn't quit. The heavens rejoice, not over your strength, but over your surrender. You proved that faith still stands in a fallen world. You proved that love still breathes after betrayal. You proved that light still speaks when darkness tries to silence it. And that, chosen one, is why heaven is proud of you today. The hidden smile behind the storm, there are moments when the sky turns gray, when prayers echo like whispers against the walls of silence, and when the weight of unseen battles crushes your spirit. Yet in those very moments, something sacred unfolds. While you see chaos, the divine sees courage. While you see struggle, heaven sees strength being forged in fire. The storms that tried to drown you have become the stage where heaven stands still, smiling at your endurance. The world looks for victory and applause and achievement, but the heavens rejoice in quiet obedience. The divine does not smile when you win, it smiles when you refuse to quit. When you walk through fire and still hold your peace, when you bleed but still choose to believe, you make the heavens lean closer in wonder. The hidden smile behind your storm isn't found in the end result. It's found in the process of your persistence. Every time you took a breath and said, "I will not give up," the unseen realm celebrated you. Every time you stood back up when life threw you to your knees, you made eternity pause. Heaven does not honor crowns made of gold, but crowns forged through scars. The chosen are not those who never fall, but those who rise one more time than the world expects. You did not realize it, but your perseverance has been a form of worship. The divine finds joy not in perfection, but in persistence. When your hands tremble yet still reach toward light, when your voice cracks yet still whispers faith, when your soul aches yet still refuses to curse the journey. You may not hear it, but there is a sound that rises from your endurance. It's not the sound of trumpets or applause, but the deep hum of heaven's approval. The storms that tried to silence you became instruments that carried your worship higher than words ever could. Every tear became a note in the song of your faith. Every disappointment became a key that unlocked a deeper strength. When you chose to keep walking through the valley instead of sitting in despair, you didn't just survive, you shifted something eternal. The hidden smile behind your storm, is this what was meant to break you, became the very thing that made heaven proud. There are angels that stand watch over endurance. They look not for those who have it all together, but for those who keep standing when everything falls apart. When you felt unseen, you were being watched with sacred attention. When you felt alone, you were surrounded by witnesses of faith who whispered, "Keep going, chosen one." The divine smiled not because you had power, but because you chose humility. Not because you controlled everything, but because you trusted through uncertainty. It is in your weakest hours that heaven's heart is moved the most. Every time you resisted bitterness, every time you refused to curse those who wronged you, every time you chose peace instead of revenge, you reflected a light that cannot be extinguished. The hidden smile behind your storm is not a reaction, it's a revelation. It reveals who you are becoming. Storms strip away what is false. They test your foundation. They force you to choose between fear and faith, between surrender and control. When everything shakes, only truth remains. You may have lost people, things, or even pieces of yourself, but what remains is unbreakable. You have become the evidence that faith still lives in a broken world. You are proof that love can still bloom after betrayal, that purpose can still rise from ashes, and that silence can still speak louder than words. The storm was never a punishment. It was preparation. It revealed that your strength is not built on circumstance, but on something divine inside you. Today, heaven smiles because you endured the test without realizing its weight. The unseen world saw the nights you cried but still prayed. The divine saw the moments you were tempted to give up but didn't. The silence of heaven was never neglect. It was reverence. It was the quiet awe of a creator watching creation reflect his endurance. Every season of pain you endured has built a testimony that will one day speak life to others. What you suffered will become someone else's survival manual. The hidden smile behind your storm is not just for you. It's a sign that your story is about to help others find light in their darkness. So, chosen one, lift your head. You are not the broken one. You are the built one. You are not forgotten. You are favored. The storm that shook you was heaven's classroom. Every trial was an assignment, every tear a seed, every delay a divine design. You may not see the full picture now, but one day you'll understand why the storm had to come, to reveal your strength, refine your soul, and restore your faith. Heaven smiled not when you reached the mountaintop, but when you refused to surrender in the valley. You made heaven proud not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. The hidden smile behind your storm is the divine silent way of saying you did well. You made me proud because even in the fire you didn't lose your flame. Even in the storm you didn't lose your worship. You walked through the flood and still carried faith. And that, chosen one, is why heaven smiled today. When the unseen becomes the applause, there are victories the world will never see. No audience, no spotlight, no sound of clapping hands. Only the quiet echo of your spirit choosing faith over fear, integrity over compromise, love over bitterness. Yet in that stillness, something divine takes notice. The unseen realm erupts in a silent standing ovation. While the earth may never celebrate your restraint, heaven records every act of unseen obedience as worship. The world praises performance, the divine honors persistence. Every time you held your tongue when anger begged to speak, every time you showed grace when revenge seemed right, you sent a sound into eternity. A sound only heaven could hear. You didn't know it, but your silence was a song. There are no cameras to capture the moments when you prayed instead of panicking, when you believed instead of breaking. The unseen applause is not heard with ears. It is felt in the shift of the atmosphere around you. It's the peace that covers you after you've done right when no one saw it. It's the strength that returns when you should have been exhausted. Heaven applauds not because of your perfection, but because of your posture. You may not wear a crown here, but in the unseen, there are robes of glory woven from every choice you made to stay kind in cruelty, to stay pure in temptation, to stay hopeful in disappointment. That's when the unseen becomes applause, not in the noise of the crowd, but in the quiet of your character. You think the stage belongs to the famous, but the real stage is the battlefield of your private life. That's where the divine watches closest. Every time you refused to gossip, every time you stayed loyal when others betrayed, every time you gave when you were running empty, you performed before eternity itself. The unseen world doesn't clap like men do. It crowns you with peace. It strengthens your steps. It releases favor that no human can block. The greatest applause comes not from men, but from heaven whispering, "You did it right." You may not hear the sound, but the effects are real. Doors opening, timing aligning, protection covering you, because your integrity made heaven rejoice. The unseen applause begins where ego ends. When you serve without being seen, when you forgive without an audience, when you love without reward, you sound like heaven. There's a sacred melody that plays when you do what's right, when no one is watching. The world may forget your name, but the divine inscribes your choices in eternal ink. You've been told that greatness is seen, but truth says that greatness is hidden. The quiet sacrifices, the internal battles, the nights you cried and still said, "I trust you." Those are the moments when eternity stands still. The divine smile widens not when you win in the eyes of man, but when you win in the eyes of truth. Every battle fought in silence is more powerful than any speech shouted in public. You conquered demons no one knew you faced. You overcame thoughts that no one heard you fight. You forgave people who will never apologize. And still, you rise every day clothed in unseen victory. That's what makes heaven proud. You don't realize it, but your humility shakes the gates of hell. Your patience rewrites your destiny. Your faith in the dark becomes a signal fire that lights the path for others who will come after you. You think you're just surviving, but in the unseen, you're leading. There's a language only the faithful understand. It's the language of the unseen applause. It's the comfort that arrives when you least expect it, the divine timing that rescues you just when you're about to fall apart. It's the whispers in your spirit saying, keep going. You're doing better than you think. That's heaven speaking. The unseen applause is not always loud. Sometimes it's the peace that holds you together, the blessing that follows obedience, the favor that flows quietly after every unseen sacrifice. The chosen don't live for validation, they live for alignment. The applause of heaven cannot be heard by those chasing approval. It can only be felt by those walking in purpose. You see, the unseen applause isn't earned through miracles or platforms. It's born from moments of moral courage. It's when you stayed kind after being wronged. It's when you helped others while carrying your own pain. It's when you kept your heart clean while walking through betrayal. You didn't lose, you learned how to win silently. You didn't fail, you found how to endure gracefully. The divine doesn't celebrate noise, it celebrates the still hearts that trust, even when they can't trace. Every time you stand in integrity, you create ripples that shift generations. The unseen applause isn't just for now, it's eternal. So when you wonder if it was worth it, if your goodness even mattered, remember this: heaven has been clapping all along. Every moment you resisted the darkness, every choice that honored truth, every prayer you prayed in secret, it built something unshakable within you. The applause of heaven doesn't fade, it multiplies. It turns your unseen obedience into seen blessings. It transforms your waiting into wisdom, your silence into strength, your faith into legacy. You are not overlooked, you are observed. You are not ignored, you are honored. The applause may not echo through the world, but it shakes the heavens. The unseen knows your name. You are the reason eternity smiled today, because you stayed true in a world that worships falsehood. You stayed faithful when others fled. You stayed kind when cruelty was easier. You turned your private battles into public testimonies of grace. That's what the chosen do. They live unseen but impact eternity. And today, the unseen applause is thundering over your life. You don't need validation from the world when heaven already stood and clapped for you. The secret exchange, there is a mystery that unfolds in the life of the chosen. A divine transaction that takes place not in the open, but in the unseen. Every pain endured, every betrayal survived, every tear shed in silence becomes currency in eternity. The world sees loss, heaven sees investment. What you think was taken from you was actually being exchanged for something eternal. You thought the fire came to destroy you, but it came to refine you. You thought the rejection came to wound you, but it came to redirect you. Every heartbreak, every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of a sacred exchange where the divine takes your ashes and returns beauty, takes your wounds and returns wisdom, takes your emptiness and fills it with unshakable strength. The secret exchange happens in moments when no one is watching, when you cry but still choose to believe, when you feel forgotten but still serve, when you feel empty yet still give. You may not see the transaction, but heaven does. Every act of faith in the middle of your struggle deposits favor into your future. Every sacrifice you make in silence becomes a seed that will bloom in its divine season. The world trades in wealth and fame, but the divine trades in endurance and faith. What you lost in the natural is nothing compared to what you gained in the unseen. You didn't just go through pain. You were promoted through it. You didn't just survive the fire. You absorbed power from it. The chosen often go through seasons of breaking because their destiny carries weight. You cannot carry glory without being emptied first. You cannot hold divine power without first being purified. The breaking was not punishment, it was preparation. The secret exchange is never comfortable because it demands surrender. It requires you to let go of what you thought you needed to release what was never meant to stay. Every time you said, "I trust you," In the middle of confusion, you traded your understanding for divine wisdom. Every time you forgave what was unforgivable, you exchanged pain for peace. Every time you walked away from what was destroying you, you exchanged bondage for freedom. The divine does not take without returning. It removes what hinders to give what heals. In the secret exchange, nothing is wasted. The tears that fell in the dark became rivers of revelation. The loneliness that broke you birthed the intimacy that rebuilt you. The rejection that hurt you created room for divine connection. Every wound became a doorway. Every loss became a lesson. You were not being punished, you were being trusted. Trusted with pain because pain purifies purpose. Trusted with disappointment because disappointment destroys illusion. Trusted with delay because delay deepens faith. The divine watched as you carried crosses that others could not bear, and instead of collapsing, you kept walking. That walk, chosen one, was your exchange. You gave up your control and received divine alignment. What you lost was never meant to define you. It was meant to reveal you. The divine had to remove what distracted you so it could reveal what was destined for you. You may have cried over closed doors, but the secret exchange was happening behind those locked walls. The delay that frustrated you was actually divine protection. The betrayal that broke you was a separation written in eternity. You thought you were being stripped, but you were being sanctified. The divine was removing everything temporary to make space for what is eternal. You did not know it then, but every no was an exchange for a better yes, written in the higher plan. The secret exchange turns weakness into wisdom. The things that once crushed you now teach you. The wounds that once bled now shine with oil. You carry power in places that once carried pain. You've learned that silence is not absence, it's strategy. You've learned that loss is not defeat, it's direction. You've learned that surrender is not giving up, it's growing up. Every lesson you've learned was purchased through pain, and that's why it's priceless. The divine uses the broken to heal the broken, the rejected to restore the rejected, the wounded to teach others how to survive their own storms. You are now the vessel of that exchange, the living evidence that pain can birth purpose. Look closely at your life and you'll see the pattern. Everything you thought destroyed you actually developed you. Every ending became a beginning in disguise. The betrayal became the bridge. The valley became the altar. The tears became oil. That's the beauty of the secret exchange. It turns every curse into a crown, every wound into wisdom, every test into testimony. Heaven has never wasted your suffering. The moments you thought were breaking you were the moments that heaven was building you. You were being reshaped, refined, and reborn through every trial. So now, chosen one, walk with your head high. You are not the same as before. You carry the marks of transformation. You walk with authority because you've walked through affliction. You speak with weight because your words have been baptized in pain. You love deeper because you've been broken open. That's the fruit of the secret exchange, divine strength born from human suffering. The world may still see scars, but heaven sees signatures. Every mark on your soul is proof that you have traded your will for the divine's way. The secret exchange is not finished. It continues as long as you keep surrendering. Every day you choose peace instead of pride, you make another exchange. Every time you choose forgiveness over vengeance, another crown is forged. Every time you choose faith when fear feels louder, another layer of glory covers you. What the world calls loss, heaven calls transformation. And soon, the very things that broke you will bless you. The secret exchange ensures that nothing suffered in faith ever dies in vain. So stand firm, chosen one. You may have lost many things, but you have gained something far greater. Divine favor, eternal strength, unshakable peace. You traded the temporary for the timeless. You traded pain for purpose. You traded sorrow for strength. And now, you are walking proof of a holy truth that in the unseen, everything given in faith is always returned in glory. The day you became the light you needed, there comes a day in every chosen one's life when the waiting ends. Not because everything changes around you, but because something shifts within you. It's the day you stop looking for rescue and realize you have become what you were praying for. The day you stop asking for the light to come and you discover that the light has been growing inside you all along. The day you stop begging for strength and realize you've been walking in power. through every storm you thought would destroy you. That day, the day you became the light you needed, is the day heaven rejoiced. Because it's the day you finally saw yourself the way eternity has always seen you, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a vessel of divine strength. You see, the chosen do not emerge from easy seasons. They are born in darkness, carved by silence, shaped in isolation. The very things that were meant to break you became the bricks that built your strength. The loneliness that crushed you forced you to find divine companionship. The rejection that wounded you made room for divine direction. The suffering that seemed endless became your secret training ground. You didn't even realize it, but while you were crying for deliverance, heaven was building endurance. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every heartbreak that didn't make sense, it was all part of your becoming. You didn't know it then, but you were being prepared to shine. The day you stopped running from your pain and started learning from it, that's the day you became the light you were searching for. You became the light the moment you decided not to quit. You became the light when you chose forgiveness instead of bitterness. You became the light when you loved yourself enough to walk away from what was breaking you. You became the light when you stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Use me." You became the light when you stopped blaming the darkness and started being the answer to it. You became the light when you realized your scars are not shame. They are symbols of survival. The divine didn't need you to be perfect. It needed you to be willing. It needed you to believe that even broken vessels can carry holy fire, that even cracked hearts can reflect glory, that even a whisper of faith can silence the loudest fear. There was a moment, chosen one, when you didn't even recognize yourself anymore, when pain had stripped away everything familiar. Yet that was when your real self began to rise. The old you was dependent on validation. The new you walks in revelation. The old you sought peace through others. The new you became peace itself. You've learned to carry light quietly. You've learned that being powerful doesn't mean being loud. It means being grounded, being still, being anchored. You used to search for people to fix what was broken, but now you heal through presence, through prayer, through peace. You no longer chase what left. You attract what's aligned. You no longer fear endings. You understand they are doorways to new beginnings. That is what it means to be light. No longer reactive, but radiant. Heaven smiled the day you stopped needing recognition to feel valuable. The day you started doing what's right even when no one was watching. The day you learned to love those who didn't deserve it and bless those who betrayed you. The day you walked away from chaos without explanation. Because on that day, you became the reflection of divine character. You no longer just carried faith, you embodied it. And that's when the atmosphere began to shift around you. You didn't need a platform, a title, or applause. You became a living sermon, a silent revelation, a walking testimony. Your peace started preaching louder than your words ever could. Becoming the light doesn't mean you stopped feeling pain. It means you learned how to turn pain into purpose. It means that when the world tries to break you, you don't shatter, you shine. It means that when people misunderstand you, you keep loving anyway. It means that when fear whispers you can't, faith roars back. Watch me. You've learned that real power doesn't come from what you own or control. It comes from what you can endure and still remain kind. It comes from what you can lose and still stay grateful. The day you realized that was the day you graduated from survival to significance. You are now the light someone else is praying for. Your story will guide others through their storms. Your strength will awaken the broken. Your peace will convict the restless. You are the answer to someone's silent prayer, the living proof that pain can produce purpose. You once begged for rescue, and now you've become the rescuer. You once cried for hope, and now you are the hope. You once sought light in others, and now you shine so bright that darkness steps back when you enter the room. That is the power of transformation. That is what the divine was building all along, a flame that cannot be extinguished, a warrior clothed in grace. Every storm that tried to drown you has become a reflection of your endurance. Every betrayal that tried to silence you has become the reason you speak truth with conviction. Every delay that tested your patience has become the soil where divine timing blooms. You carry wisdom now, not because life was easy, but because you learned to find purpose in pain. That's why heaven celebrates you today. You are not just a survivor. You are a sign that light always wins, a sign that brokenness is not the end. It's the birthplace of beauty, a sign that what was meant to bury you only planted you deeper into purpose. So, chosen one, walk boldly. You no longer have to wait for the light to arrive. You are the light. You no longer have to seek guidance from others. You are the guidance. You no longer have to fear the darkness. You illuminate it. You are not the person who entered the storm. You are the one who emerged from it glowing with divine fire. Your journey was never about escaping pain. It was about becoming powerful enough to transform it, and now, wherever you go, light follows. Because the day you stopped waiting for someone to save you was the day you realized you were chosen to be the light. The day you stopped asking for miracles was the day you understood you are one. And that, chosen one, is the day heaven smiled and said, now you understand who you are. Heaven's whisper over the remnant. There is a sound that does not thunder yet shakes the heavens. It is not heard by crowds, only by those who have endured the crushing silence of destiny. It is the whisper of heaven over the remnant, the few who refuse to bow to the world's deception, the ones who walked through fire and still carried faith. You are part of that remnant. You are the unseen, uncelebrated, unwavering heartbeat of truth in an age that worships falsehood. When others chased applause, you chose obedience. When others surrendered to convenience, you clung to conviction. You didn't just survive your storms, you transformed them into sanctuaries. Heaven watched, heaven waited. And now, heaven whispers over you, well done, chosen one. You didn't break, you believed. There is something sacred about being part of the remnant. You are not where you are because life was easy or fair. You are where you are because you refused to let pain define you. You were stripped, tested, and refined until all that remained was faith. You were cut away from the crowd, not because you weren't good enough, but because you were too rare to be common. Heaven never hides what it's finished with, it hides what it's forming. While others mocked your silence, heaven was molding your strength. While others thought your delay meant denial, heaven was developing your destiny. The remnant is not built in comfort, it is built in the crucible of surrender. Every tear became a prophecy. Every trial became training. Every heartbreak became a holy exchange. You did not realize it, but your faithfulness was making the divine proud. Heaven whispers over those who remain, over those who did not lose themselves when the world tried to rewrite their worth, over those who stayed kind in cruelty, pure in corruption, faithful in famine. Heaven doesn't shout over perfection, it whispers over endurance. When you could have fought back but chose peace, when you could have run away but stayed in faith, when you could have cursed your pain but chose to praise through it, heaven recorded it. The applause of men fades quickly, but the whisper of heaven echoes through eternity. The divine does not celebrate your results, it celebrates your resilience. You may not hear it, but every step you take in truth sends ripples through eternity. You have become living proof that faith still stands in a fallen world. The remnant walks a lonely path, but it is never an abandoned one. Heaven surrounds them in silence. The divine does not always speak in thunder, because thunder strengthens no one. Whispers do. You learn to hear those whispers. You learn to recognize the divine in stillness, to trust even when you couldn't trace, to keep walking even when you didn't understand the way. You stopped needing confirmation from people and started living on revelation. That's why you couldn't fit in anymore. That's why you were pulled away from familiar places and comfortable patterns. Heaven was setting you apart. You are not isolated. You are insulated. You are not forgotten. You are chosen for something that requires refinement before revelation. Heaven whispers because power is hidden in peace. The remnant doesn't need to announce its strength. It carries authority in silence. The same storms that destroyed others became your altar. The same pain that silenced others became your prophecy. You didn't just go through the valley, you learned to carry light through it. The divine did not call you to be famous, it called you to be faithful. You are not a trend, you are a torchbearer. You were never meant to blend in, you were meant to blaze through. The fire you walked through was not to burn you, but to brand you. You now carry marks that speak louder than sermons, scars that shine brighter than crowns. Heaven's whisper over the remnant is not a sound of pity, it is a sound of promise. It says, your hidden years were not wasted. Your waiting season was not in vain. Your pain was not punishment, it was preparation. Everything you lost was making space for everything eternal. Everything that walked away was clearing the path for what was written for you long before the world knew your name. The divine watched as you chose truth over comfort, integrity over image, and prayer over pride, and heaven smiled. You didn't need a platform, you needed purity. You didn't need validation, you needed vision. And now, your reward will not come through human hands, but through divine timing. The remnant carries an anointing the world can't understand. You have learned to see through deception, to love without expecting, to serve without recognition. You have become both the message and the messenger. Your story is no longer just your pain. It's your prophecy. The things you endured are the keys you will now use to unlock hope in others. You are not at the end, you are at the unveiling. The years of silence were not delay, they were development. Heaven does not rush perfection, it refines it. Every battle you fought in secret was a rehearsal for the breakthrough you are about to see in public. Heaven whispers not because it is uncertain, but because it is sure. The whisper means, it is done. You have been tested in ways others will never understand, but that is the cost of being chosen. You have been misunderstood, but that's the price of revelation. You have been stretched beyond your limit, but that's the evidence of expansion. You are carrying more than you realize. You are part of a remnant, being raised not to fit the world, but to change it. The divine is not done with you. It is just beginning to reveal what it has been building all along. Your tears have watered your calling. Your suffering has sanctified your soul. Your endurance has made heaven proud. So listen closely. Chosen one, the whisper over your life is growing louder. It says, you passed the test. You held your ground. You remained faithful when others fell away. You became the light in a world of shadows. And now, what was hidden will be revealed. The whisper of heaven is your confirmation that your labor was not in vain, that your warfare was not wasted, and that your waiting has not been forgotten. You are the remnant that carries the rhythm of eternity, small in number, but mighty in spirit. Heaven is still whispering over you, chosen one, and the whisper carries one message only. You made me proud.